Let's see, what is not working? Okay. Sometimes you just gotta open it up again and close it again. Technology. The pinnacle of the human experience right here. All right. Let's move that over. Welcome to another mindfulness session. Let's get this pointed up a little bit. Now, I think actually something messed up for Instagram. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm about dropping Instagram. It's a whole other separate thing. You know, I have this multi-stream set up. I can stream to YouTube, Facebook, Kick, Twitch all at once. But the Instagram makes you go separately to Instagram.com, go to live video, set a separate key. If you click anywhere outside this window, it closes up. You got to start the whole process over. It's a nightmare. So I accidentally clicked outside the video. Whoops. So I think it's lost. It's all right. We only have one person and it's probably a bot. So anyone coming back from the future wants to check out this video, they're just gonna have to do it on YouTube or another platform. So yeah, as usual, the first 15 minutes or so, a little bit less now that we're a little ways into the time here, will be dedicated to discussion about mindfulness. And then we'll do an hour of self-guided meditation. And then after that, 15 more minutes where people can talk about what that experience was like for them. If they want to ask questions. And, you know, I've been actually going through like little quotes that resonate with me that I've saved up in my kind of own little, I have this mindfulness codex document that I've, you know, kind of put all my knowledge in. And I've been going through quotes and that's been kind of a cool thing. So I'm going to go through another quote and talk about that for a little bit. So let's begin. The quote is this: in mindfulness, one is not only restful and happy, but alert and awake. Meditation is not evasion. It is a serene encounter with reality. Thich Nhat Hanh. This quote actually surprised me when I first read it. First of all, his statement that meditation is not evasion struck me because it didn't really occur to me that there are people who thought meditation was an evasion. But I guess he probably said it for a reason. And I guess maybe people think that because you're just sitting there, you're closing your eyes, you know, it doesn't seem like they're doing anything. Maybe it seems like they're just like shutting themselves away from reality. It's interesting because that's actually the exact opposite of what you're doing. You're opening yourself up to reality. Well, I mean, there's different techniques, whether you're doing mindfulness of the breath or doing like a body scan or doing sort of a lighter awareness, a softer awareness of everything around you, sounds, sensations. So it's various techniques, but generally speaking, it's not shutting yourself off from reality. It's maybe selectively closing the floodgates on certain of senses to get a better sense of, just to make things a bit more clear. So for example, like, yes, people often close their eyes in the beginning. Well, first of all, there's still stuff you can see. You're not, it's not zero. You just have less stuff because it's kind of like black and muddled. And you might be in a quiet room, for example, away from like loud noises, and like you're not at a rave or something the first time you're meditating, right? But it's not, you're not completely cut off from sounds. There's still sounds. And I think this is done generally just because it's easier to focus. It's easier to be, it's very easy to be distracted if there's a lot going around you. You know, if there's like, if you're at a party, there's stuff going on, loud noises, people doing everything, it's super easy to get distracted. And so that's a perfect place to meditate if you're really advanced and you've done it for a while and you're comfortable with it. But as a beginner, it's a little bit easier if you just kind of have a bit more of a quieter space to do it. But in general, it's not really about shutting away your sensations. It's about observing them. And in time, it's actually about almost magnifying them, appreciating them in new ways. And so that really gets to the second part of this quote, where he says, "It is a serene encounter with reality." What you really understand when you start meditating more is that the way you view reality can change, right? Like, it's not just like reality is out there and that's what I see. It's more like reality is out there, but what you see is kind of like more like what you're paying attention to, right? It explains the difference between somebody who knows every single bird call, and they go out into the woods and they just sit there and they're listening, like every little tweet, every little trill, every little sound made by a bird. They know where it is, what kind of species it is. It's a whole world of information out there versus like me or like probably the average person. Like, it's just a couple random bird sounds. I don't know anything, who's making those sounds, what species. It's just, I don't really have like an ear for that. And so I'm not really getting it, right? I'm not really, it doesn't really mean a lot to me. But if you have an understanding of what bird sounds are and which bird species make what sound, it can be a whole world. And so meditation is similar in that it kind of opens up a whole new world when you start looking at things more closely. You start examining things more closely. There's another quote I wrote down, I'll probably get to at some point in the future, that talks about this kind of similarly. Like, it's something about like you can look at a blade of grass and kind of like be in awe even just of that single blade of grass. It doesn't have to be a crazy complicated or advanced thing. Even simple mundane things, if you look at them with more of an open-minded attitude and like consider them as if you're looking at them again for the first time, you might discover that there's a whole world around you that is teeming with life that you didn't know. And so that's really what the second part of this quote gets at. It is a serene encounter with reality. It absolutely is. Mindfulness meditation helps you, it opens up a whole world of reality to you and a way of viewing reality that basically you'll never be bored ever again. Once you learn to meditate, you will discover that there is so much going on everywhere, all around you, if only you just pay attention. And that's the key. Learning to pay attention to the minutest details. And yeah, so that's that quote, and we're just about ready to start. 1 minute. So I'm going to do, again, 1 hour of self-guided meditation. You guys are all welcome to follow along. Again, if you're just coming for the first time, check out the schedule page. I write out a little bit about what meditation is, how it can benefit you, and how to get started. And there's a link to an app you can download, and you can go through the introductory course, and that's exactly what I did. I highly recommend it. I tried a bunch of apps, pretty much every app that I could find out there, and this one, in my opinion, was the best. So yeah, here we go. All right. Congratulations for those who participated and did another hour of meditation. Feel free to share how it was for you. I'll go in case people are typing. I'll just go. Yeah, that was actually really good. Way better than yesterday when I was really tired. I got much better sleep last night. And so, yeah. One thing I like to do every once in a while is do counting. And one of the meditations I listened to reminded me of that strategy where you can count 1 on your in-breath, 2 on your out-breath, 3 on your in-breath, 4 on your out-breath, and so on and so forth. And I just do this every once in a while, get a sense of how long I'm lasting before I get distracted. If there's ever a point where I'm like, wait, what number am I on? Like 12 or... Then I know I wasn't really paying attention and just start over. Or sometimes I'm like kind of counting, but I still catch my mind like not quite in the present moment. I'm still a little bit drifting off, you know. Oh, let's start over. Maybe don't count. I think I got to like 45 or one point, but I knew like more like at like 30, my mind had drifted off. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna count that as more like a 30. But yeah, so you can see where you start at and see how you progress, because in theory over time you should be able to get to a higher number before you get distracted. Now, don't be hard on yourself on your particular rate of progress or anything like that, but it's just one small way where you can kind of get some measure of progress, and that's really helpful for some people. There's other techniques as well, and if you go through the app, they usually explain them in the Waking Up app. Another one is labeling. When you're meditating, different things will capture your attention, and sometimes it's a thought, and sometimes it's more of an emotion, sometimes it's like a plan, like you're planning something. You could say planning, thinking, feeling. And this can help you get a sense of the distribution of what kind of things are appearing in your consciousness. If you do this enough, you're like, wow, like a lot of what distracted me are my emotions or my thoughts, or I'm trying to plan. And this just gives you insight into yourself and what's on your mind, what's going on within you. I definitely had a lot of planning related ones because, well, of course, this whole like live stream thing is very new still, so there's a lot of things I want to do to tweak and change how I might do live streams. Then I'm thinking about starting a video game. I had a couple projects that I was working on last year, but then I kind of got really into AI, and then some other things came up. But yeah, I'll get more into that in a little bit in the next session. This is going to segue into the first connection session. And that's one where we do various like authentic relating activities. Mostly I'm just going to do heartshare, which is a opportunity for people to share what's alive for them and for others to listen non-judgmentally. I'll explain it in more detail when the time comes, but yeah, for now, does anyone have any questions or comments? See, we have a couple of viewers. Maybe they're both bots. Maybe they're just shy. I don't know. But I'll take a few more minutes to see if anyone has anything to say, and then I'll take a quick break before the next live stream. Well, it seems not. So I'm going to take a quick break. I forgot I had something in the oven. I totally need to get to that. But I'll be back at 7 p.m. for the scheduled connection session. So see you soon. right, we're back. Once again, this is going to be the first connection live stream where we do activities to connect and build relationships with anybody who wants to, anyone who's open to. This is not quite what I want yet. Close. Brought it a bit closer. Maybe it's a bit too close. I don't know. Should I face and turn it a little bit more? So, test. So why am I doing this? Well, it's no secret now that modern society is a lonely society. Unfortunately, modern society is built on the ideology of capitalism, which itself is built on the ideology of individualism, which emphasizes the importance of the individual over everything else. And therein we err, and greatly err. It encourages us to be selfish and think about our own needs before the needs of the collective, before the needs of our family, before the needs of our nation, before the needs of our planet. And we're so fixated on ourselves that we can't see the harms we're causing to ourselves and to others and to the planet. The bottom line is that the modern profit-oriented economic structure underpins pretty much every other structure, including the social structure. And that has eroded any semblance of community and connection, and has led to the rampant isolation that we see today. And I want to change that. And I think we can have connection in an individualist culture, in a capitalist economic system. But it requires deliberate effort. It requires people reaching out and connecting and learning the necessary skills to connect. And that's what I want to offer here. And first of all, note, I'm not professing to be a particular expert or anything. What I'm demonstrating here is just something I learned when I lived in intentional community for 2 years. And I found the experience very valuable. And I think the wider world ought to see it, because I think you guys will find it valuable too. So what are the things one needs to be able to create and maintain healthy relationships? Well, there's a lot of things. I think a big one is just understanding yourself and your own needs. And that's huge. And that's kind of a whole can of worms. I could have a separate topic on that. Maybe that'll be a perspective day. But I'll just go through this list I wrote and not go too deep into each of them. But trying to get an understanding of yourself and your own needs is important. Cultivating emotional intelligence, connecting with your body, which is part of cultivating emotional intelligence, and learning to process your emotions in healthy ways. Understanding your traumas and trying to heal them. Understanding your patterns. It requires becoming honest with oneself and others. Radically honest, in fact, I would say, is the best approach. That is complete honesty. Some people are okay with a kind of like partial honesty. And okay, yeah, like that might kind of work a little bit. But as soon as you do anything that's a little bit deceptive or lying, you open the door to challenges and future difficulty in your relationship. So I've found personally that the only way to live completely at peace with yourself is to be completely honest. And that way, there's just, you just remove the whole element of lying and deception from relationships, which is huge. I mean, it's even just small things, like your partner cooks up a meal for you and asks, "How was this meal, honey?" A lot of people might lie in that situation if, they think it's like not that great, but they don't want to hurt their feelings. They'll be like, "Oh, it's pretty good," right? I would say even that dishonesty is unhelpful for a number of reasons. Again, this is kind of a sidetrack here, but in that case, like, you're not giving them helpful feedback, right? Like, if you tell them that it's good, then they're just going to keep making this thing that's actually not that good, but you told them it was good. And so they'll just keep making this thing for you in the same way. And do you want that? No, you want them to make it in a way that's actually good, so that when you respond and say, "Wow, this is delicious," it's actually true. So you're kind of like holding them back from improving themselves. But in general, you're just setting it up so that if they find out that you're kind of like sugarcoating things and like not really telling the full truth, then they'll start to doubt what other things you might have said. "Oh, does these clothes look good on me? Was he lying about that too? Does he really love me? Was he lying about that too?" As soon as you just go full honest in your life, everything is easier. People who know you and they can immediately trust everything you have to say. It may take a while. It's hard to get used to sometimes when someone's brutally honest, but you can still be nice and you can still be honest. So honesty is important. To build successful relationships, this is a huge one. Honesty, transparency. So let's move on to the other ones on the list. It requires a courage to be vulnerable. And this is a big one that these practices that I want to do will elicit. It will help you become vulnerable. It's a skill, it's a practice, and the more you participate, the better you get at it. And then there's the whole learning how to effectively communicate side. And this is, as I mentioned in previous episodes, something I'm not the greatest with, because I've had certain experiences in school, debate team, that kind of like moved me down a more like debatey, argumentative type route as a communicator, rather than more of a listen, understand, and empathize. So I've had to like kind of undo years of training and like just habitual patterns, and it's still a work in progress for sure. Another big one is NVC, nonviolent communication. That's a really good way to communicate effectively. Trying to use I statements more than you. Own your feelings. I'm still so terrible at this. I even caught myself the other day in the live stream where I was like, I think it was something about like, oh yeah, moving the camera. And I was like, wow, if you have a cameraman, I hope you are grateful. But it might not be the most like helpful way to like state that. I should just say it instead, if I had a cameraman, I would be very grateful, right? Notice the difference? Essentially the same idea, but one way kind of like makes people feel bad if they're not grateful. And the other way, you're just kind of like sharing your feelings. And that's how I am in my mind, but the way I communicate it isn't the same. And there's two different things there. And kind of another thing that you learn that helps you maintain relationships is learning how to resolve conflicts, because conflict is inevitable. You know, you may okay, there's the you again. Let me get away from that you. I had this idea watching Disney movies as a kid, and having this kind of like fairy tale image in my mind of like how my marriage would be. I thought that my goal was to find the person with whom I would have no conflict with, and then I would live happily ever after. That's not reality. In practice, you're not going to find someone you have no conflict with. And even if you do in the beginning, we are not static people. People change over time. And so you might have conflict later. So you can't go into a relationship thinking, I'm never going to have conflict. Of course, you want to minimize conflict. And if you are dating somebody and there's conflict all the time and you just can't get over it in the beginning, yeah, maybe try to date somebody else and see what else is out there. But you're not likely going to find someone with whom there's zero conflict. And learning how to resolve conflict effectively in a way that can still keep you connected is a very important skill. So we'll touch upon all these different skills in our journey here in these connection episodes here on Thursday nights and Sunday mornings. I tried to separate them at different times so we can get people from different time zones, and you know, some people on the weekend, some people in the weekday. And yeah, it's gonna start pretty quiet, I imagine, because, well, I have no exposure, so there's like one viewer at most. But actually, this is the best time, because if the channel actually becomes popular, what you'll find is that it's hard to get enough time to speak. Because once you start doing this and really start bearing your soul and connecting with people, it's very healing. It's a very powerful tool to like release, discharge feelings and build connections with other, and trust with other, and like really strengthen connections. And so I imagine people will be fighting for a slot eventually. At least that's how it practically was at the community I was at, where we had a set amount of time. We had to divide it evenly by the number of people, and sometimes you only got a couple minutes. But I could tell some people really wanted to share more, but they didn't have enough time. So now, if you join right now and you want to share, you have so much time, because there's not a lot of competitions for spots. So technically the best time, but I'm working on getting my channel exposed a bit more and getting more people into this and finding the people that vibe with the stuff that I'm doing. And that's going to take some time. So for now, it looks like it's just me, maybe one or two other people. And they may not want to contribute, but let me explain sort of the fundamental activity that we'll be doing. And that is heartshare. And heartshare is a structured sharing practice where participants speak authentically about their current emotional state and in their experiences in a supportive group setting. The structure is usually that it's about an hour, sometimes 90 minutes, can be longer, but I'm going to limit it to 1 hour at first. And it involves anywhere from like 8 to 15 people. You all sit in a circle, and everybody gets an equal amount of time. So how many people there is, an hour divided by that many people, and everyone gets maybe 5 minutes to speak. And then when it's their turn, only they're speaking. There's no interruptions, there's no comments from others. Everyone just sits there and pays attention and listens non-judgmentally. Now, as the speaker, you want to try to connect with your feelings. It's not really a time for you to share your ideas, your thinking mind, your heady stuff, right? Like, this isn't like you explain your new passion project. I mean, unless it's a strong feeling in there about that project, but we don't need to know the inner workings of the mechanics of, your new train set or something. It's not about thinking, it's more about how you're feeling. And for a lot of people, that's really hard, and I get it. That's really hard for me because growing up the way that I did, I was very much in my head all the time, and school only exacerbated this like science, STEM, mentality. So I became very out of touch with my feelings. Of course, when I got really angry, I'd be like, okay, I'm angry, but I would only notice that I'm angry like 5 minutes into my anger, right? Like, it takes me a while. So over the years, I've been working through various practices, mindfulness meditation being a big one, to connect with my body. But I'm just beginning the journey. So I get it. It's really hard for a lot of people. And I imagine we'll have a lot of people come on at first and they're going to get really heady and not really be connecting with their feelings. That's okay. Don't judge them. We'll just remind people every time, and people will do their best. So speak from your heart about your feelings, challenges you might have, or insights you've come to. Others aren't here to give advice. There's no advice given, and completely non-judgmental experience. In fact, if you are judgmental and you make people feel uncomfortable, like, that's pretty much grounds for you not to participate in the future. So be on your best behavior. Now, after a share, you generally just move to the next person. Now, some places, some communities might say something like, are you open for feedback or comments? And if the person who shared says yes, then other people can raise their hand, and the facilitator will call on them and they can share something, maybe some, supportive words or comments or feedbacks, or ask them questions. But that's completely optional. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet, but we'll see. Then you go around the room, everyone gets a time to share, and that's pretty much it until the hour is done, until your time is all up. And some groups end with like a final moment of silence, or like some sort of group acknowledgement, reminders about confidentiality. But on a note about confidentiality, as we're doing a live stream, I can't guarantee confidentiality. Anybody could just come in and watch the live stream. So if you're going to participate in these things, share only what you're comfortable with sharing to the world, basically. Just think of it as if you're posting this like on your Facebook wall or something. So for some people that might, prevent them from talking about real serious issues that are, near and dear to their heart. And that's understandable. As I wrote elsewhere on the schedule page, if there's enough interest and time, if there's enough interest, then maybe we can get together and make like a private heartshare type activity where it's not broadcast on live stream, or perhaps even in person, depending on where people are located and such. But for now, it's going to be live stream, and I'll just be kind of demoing it myself until I get a few more participants and building it up, and then, we'll do more of the normal format. But it looks like here today it'll just be me, and maybe it might be that way for a month. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Oh yeah, and the only other thing to note is that in the far future, if there becomes a lot of people who want to participate, and I have to decide, like, okay, who's going to be participating, I'm going to prioritize it to, first of all, the people in person. If there are people who come here, or I take this live stream to a community center or something and have people meet up. And then it'll be, second priority will be people who participate with Streamlabs collab cam. So they're also like, on the stream. And then it would go to the people who are the viewers in the chat. But we're far away from there. And yeah, so I'm just going to begin myself. Close this. Sometimes I like to ground and just really connect with my body, because all your emotions, they're in your body. They're not merely just like a thought, right? When you feel hurt, there's a sensation somewhere. When you feel angry, there's a sensation somewhere, or many places. So I'm going to ground for a moment and just kind of connect with myself. Anyone who knows me in real life, like, knows me well. I mean, I guess there are people out there who, should I turn on this light? That is better, but it's so blinding. I literally need a hat indoors to kind of like help a little bit. People who know me in real life, who know me well, will know me as like generally a pretty cheery dude. What's up? I don't have a lot of day-to-day stress. I'm not very anxious day-to-day. I think I got this from my dad. He's very much the same way. He's very chill. And I'm really grateful that I got this. So when I do experience anxiety, it's so acute to me because it's so rare. I'm like, whoa, I just felt anxiety. There's like a little tension in my chest. And I actually felt it the other day. Well, I've been feeling it a little bit in the past few weeks as I've been setting up this live stream and then finally getting it started. A couple things kind of like struck me. And one is I became like a little bit worried because the world is so unbelievably toxic right now. It's crazy. The way the world is structured, it's almost incentivizing, it's not even almost, it is incentivizing toxic behaviors. So even if you're a good person and you're just trying to help people, trying to make the world a better place, if there's a way that somebody can make money off of you, or they feel like you're a threat to their, brand, whatever it is, like, they're going to attack you. And so like doing live stream and putting yourself out there is like kind of making yourself a target. And yeah, I just feel kind of like sad that that's the world we're in. It's like I was watching this, I got down this YouTube rabbit hole, and it dawned on me that there are actually channels who their entire business model is to attack some celebrity, and they just make videos about it. Video after video after video after video. It's about attacking some famous celebrity. It's like they pick somebody who's more famous than them that other people on YouTube would recognize, and they say some like extreme claim like why this person has completely fallen or something, or like no one likes this person anymore. And then they go on to like explain all these little things about like why this person is bad. And usually it's not that bad. Like they made a few mistakes, but they're just like completely attacking this person so they can get more clicks and more views. It's very like clickbaity slash trying to leverage the fame of a celebrity or someone more famous than them so their video gets views. It's just really toxic that kind of behavior is incentivized, because, well, why would they do that? Because they want more views, and more views for them means more money, and more money for them means they can live a more comfortable life. So it's unfortunate. And, you know, I felt the other day, I was like, wow, like I'm really putting myself out there. All I really want to do is give people some awesome workouts so they can stay healthy, teach them the skills that I wish someone could have shown me about, like mindfulness and authentic relating and other things. I just want to make the world a better place, but I feel like there's some risk for me doing this, and I try not to think about it, but that definitely, yeah, I feel a little anxious about that. It's like a little tightness in my chest. And then on the topic of live stream, well, I mean, there's a lot of technical oddities that are frustrating. A lot of the software is like really buggy. As I explained earlier in this very live stream, Instagram has this thing where I have to like separately go out and like get the stream key, and I can't click anywhere outside this little small box, and if I do, it'll start over, but I already started the stream, so the only way to re-put that stream key in is to end the stream on all other platforms, start over. It's just like the whole technical stuff, let's just leave that aside. That's frustrating, but there's also an issue I've been realizing where I came on to live stream to offer a certain kind of content and experience that I thought would be helpful to people. And well, I realized like all these little things that kind of don't really make that maybe the best, it's not the most appropriate kind of content. I mean, not to mention the fact that like most live streaming, like especially desktop live streaming, is gaming oriented. But it's also not structured so you can like do a segment and then engage people. Like it seems like people want engagement right away. So I can schedule a workout or whatever, I can start working out, and then someone joins the chat, and I really want to engage with them, because that's what I'm here for as well. Like I want to connect with people and like share and have this channel grow, and it's a connective experience. But then that kind of throws off the workout a little bit. And so there might be like, you know, at some point, dozens of people watching this workout. I'm like trying to show people how to work out well or whatever. And then I'm kind of like trying to engage as well. So there's like this weird kind of dance I am finding with the kind of content that I want to share, and how I interact with my audience. But, you know, it's just, I haven't really figured out that, but I'm just going to play it by ear. And then there's, like little things like, I was watching a video the other day, and this guy was like explaining, how do you become like a popular live streamer? Like, how do you grow your audience, whatever? Because that's huge, right? Like you need to be, it's not that my content is necessarily bad. It's that it needs to be exposed to people. Like, how do people find out about it? And this guy was like, basically, dude, like, your title is hugely important. This is like one thing that people look at. A lot of the websites don't even list your description. They just show you the title. So that's huge. And I was like, wow, that's actually true. And it clips off your title on these like websites. They're clipped to like 30 characters. Excuse me. So you have 30 characters to write something that will entice people to click your video out of thousands of videos. That's a lot of pressure, and you got to be really good with that. So sure, that's fine. But the other thing is that I realized that the way that I've been doing things, I've put a lot of streams back to back. So I do like an hour and a half of mindfulness practice, and then I segue into connection as we did today. Or I'll do an hour of strength training, and then I'll segue into mindfulness. Now I do that because it seems like people want continuous streams. If I broke it up and did like an hour and then took a break for an hour and then came back and did another hour, then it seems like I would have to re-engage fans, right? Like those fans might go do other things. I may not get them for the second half. Not to mention, it's just like more work to like do the whole setup for like the morning and then do it again. Oh, hey, what's up, dude? We're great. How are you doing? This is the first connection live stream. So this is where I'm just kind of like sharing, everybody involved shares what's live for them. So if you want to go, by all means. How are you doing, man? I watched that video, by the way. We can talk about that in a bit. Oh, shit. Is everything all right, or is it like toast? Oh, wow. You had to get a new one. Well, at least you got a shiny new one. I see. Word. Yeah, so I actually did the same thing earlier too. I spilled some water. Thank God it was okay, and it was only on my keyboard. But yeah, I watched that video you mentioned the other day. What was it called? The Science Delusion. I gotta say though, I could not agree with like 90% of what he said. First of all, I am a scientist, right? I used to work at NASA for about a decade, and then before that I was at the United States Department of Transportation. So I have a lot of experience with science. And I would say that the claims he made were not really true when it comes to any scientists I know. Like, I think maybe the very first sentence he said was, the science delusion is the belief that science understands the nature of reality in principle, leaving only the details to be filled in. I don't know any scientist who believes that. In fact, every scientist I know believes the exact opposite, which is that science doesn't know the nature of reality, and we're trying to fill in the details through the scientific method. So yeah, I was just kind of like a little bit confused. I don't know. If he's a legit physicist, then he's not like any physicist I've ever known. But everybody's different, I guess. Yeah, I don't know any scientists like that. I think every single scientist I know takes a more humble position in that, well, it's like, I guess it depends on who you know, right? I guess there are some scientists who are probably like, when I do a scientific experiment, I discover facts. But any scientist who knows anything about what they're talking about recognizes that facts are just like temporary understanding, right? Like we thought for a long time that yeah, I mean, I think every subject, whether in every field, including religious people and scientists, and there's always people who, pride comes in and they want to say that they know something and be very confident. But I think if people really were to reflect upon the reality of things, one would recognize that what we know is always changing, right? Like we thought we knew for the fact that the world was flat for many years. And then of course that changed, right? We thought we understood physics to be Newtonian physics, but then we came to understand relativity and quantum mechanics, right? So if you just observe the history of human knowledge evolving, you recognize that what we discover at any one moment is just some conclusion that we have a theory about, and we believe it to be true, and that belief is based on like how much evidence we've accumulated. So if there's only one study, then our belief is like incredibly tiny. And if there's 1,000 studies that confirm this, then that, becomes a more stronger theory. But in general, science isn't really about arriving at the absolute truth so much as just discovering helpful knowledge. Yeah, I mean, again, it depends. I think there's a lot involved with it. I think, yeah, like there's often pride involved. There's also, we live in a very like high pressure world where people are expected to, like a lot of money can be riding on the line. So when, there's a big issue with science today where like this publish or perish pressure where, you're incentivized to do research and do studies that, discover something new, or rather than just like repeating studies of the past to verify whether they're true, which is an important job. And so there's just like all these different pressures related to like finances and economics, which I think will, and also that lead to like social pressures to make people kind of like pretend they know more than they know. But so yeah, I mean, it's just, all I can say is from my experience and all the people I know, they took a much more humble approach. And many of the things he points out, he has this like list of like 10 things, like nature is mechanical or machine-like. The universe is like a machine. Animals and plants are like machines. Humans are like machines. Brains are genetically programmed computers. Yes, like maybe back in his day, and he's an older gentleman, but I think now I don't think people are as rigid on that. I think there's more evolved, more flexible pictures of, materialism. I think is kind of an idea that's going away. And this firm materialism, I think, is a thing of the past. Yeah, well, I mean, again, that condescension, I think, is down to each individual person. So I know all the people that I know are very humble, and they will not try to like say that they know more than you or anything like that. But then again, if you're like, if you've done a bunch of research and papers, and you're kind of held to be a respected person in your field, and then you could feel pressured to like, say you know more than you do or whatever. Like there's a lot of complexities to it, but I wouldn't blame science in itself. That's just more about the individual people. I think actually science is the best method we have now for uncovering truth, simply because, I mean, there's really no competing method. Everything that we pretty much every useful discovery we've ever done in the last 100 years has been through the scientific method. That has brought us all of our technology, cell phones, cars, air conditioners, right? These discoveries were done through science, not because someone just randomly stumbled upon them. So it is an effective method, but I think, as you're pointing out, how people embody and understand and convey that method is a big deal. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, that's the thing about this world. People think they know a lot. And often I think people think they know more than they actually really know. And that's like a common issue of today. I think there's a lack of humility, unfortunately. But again, there's like pressures to be right. If you're not right, you're not going to be recognized as, a respected scientist anymore, or you're not going to get that promotion because you're kind of an uncertain dude. And, oh, this guy over here who sounds confident and he knows what he's talking about, and he's going to get the promotion, right? There's all these subtle factors that kind of like encourage or incentivize certain behaviors that may make people act in ways that are like condescending or like dismissive. But certainly I'm not strictly a materialist, and all the things that I know, that I believe that I know, I hold with a certain, grain of salt. Like, I accept that there are other ways of viewing the world, and there are certainly topics that science doesn't touch at all. I mean, consider the topic of mindfulness itself, right? Science has not touched mindfulness except in maybe the past 10 years. Before then, everyone was just like, oh, mindfulness is nothing because, well, there's no scientific evidence that shows mindfulness is valuable. But of course, mindfulness has always been valuable. It doesn't matter whether scientists have studied it. It was valuable beforehand. Now, finally, science is studying mindfulness, and there's hard scientific evidence to attest to its value. But there are still many things that scientists don't study, which I think do have value. Yeah. So I mean, I think it comes down mostly to the person. But when I listened to his list, this guy's list that he had in the video, I was thinking more like, okay, I think the scientists he's talking about are kind of like the scientists of the past, maybe. Like, maybe that was more prevalent when he was younger or something. But I don't know, like, pretty much no one at NASA, no one at the DOT that I met would even agree with most of that list, in that, the number 2 one was matter is unconscious. There's no consciousness in animals, plants, or even humans. The laws of nature are fixed. I don't think any scientist could truly say that at all. The total amount of matter is the same. These are theories, and we may believe them with to some degree, but I don't know anybody who's like, this is absolutely true, this will never change, right? That seems a bit much. But I mean, I think he's getting at an important thing, which is that humility is important, that science is not immune to misrepresentation, to having people. Yeah, it's really just about the people, I would say. And I think science in particular has an issue where it's not really digestible to the average person. Yeah, panpsychism. Yeah, I'm down with panpsychism. My particular theory of mind is kind of a mix between panpsychism and physicalism, but it's just, again, it's kind of like, I can't know for certain, but I'm leaning in this direction. And that's how I think most of the scientists that I'm aware of and I have associated with orient themselves. It's less of this like, I know what I know and you guys are all wrong or anything like that. But anyways, if only I knew someone that had consciousness. Oh, no worries. What do you mean? You have consciousness. Or was that a joke? I can't read sarcasm. Okay. Without emojis or something. Or winky smile faces. Yeah. Consciousness is a tricky one. There's a lot to it. But I actually just wrote an article about consciousness, in particular about consciousness in AI. If you're interested, you should check out my blog. It's there. It's a 3-part series. It's about consciousness in, just consciousness broadly in all living things on Earth and in AI. And then it's about my predictions about AI in the future, which are coming very rapidly. But yeah, I have a very expansive view of consciousness. I think pretty much every living thing is conscious. It's just about different manner of, there's different natures to consciousness. Right? Like we often use humans as like the gold standard for consciousness. And I think that's a mistake. I think humanity, that's just one flavor of consciousness. A cat is obviously conscious, and that's a different flavor, but still pretty related, still a mammal. But as you pay attention, as one pays attention to the world, you'll recognize consciousness in everything that is basically, at least not a rock. I'm not saying they don't have consciousness, but as far as I can tell, rocks are pretty not conscious in the way that, we usually care about in these kind of discussions. But first of all, like plants are conscious, absolutely. I haven't gotten that into Advaita Vedanta, but I really want to. There's actually a bunch of content on that from the Sam Harris Waking Up app that I am eager to go through. But yeah, how to study it? A scientist would have to meditate. I think that's the way to go. I think science is often too, and I think this is where one of the things that Rupert Sheldrake mentioned, and this is one thing I would agree in general, is that science is often too reductionist. We're trying to look at everything through a microscope, or it's maybe there's more than just breaking everything down into smaller and smaller components. Maybe if you do that, you don't see the bigger picture. Really, I think what that ignores is emergent behavior. I mean, consider just the fundamental of life itself. You and I are considered alive, but our constituent components, our atoms, are not alive, right? We're made of non-alive things, yet we are alive. So if you zoom in too close, you kind of miss the picture. It's not really about a bunch of atoms, you know, you gotta zoom out and see the relationship between all these levels of things, from atoms to proteins to cells to tissues to organ systems to the human body to, you know, families to civilizations to Earth. Like there's different layers that have different bits of the puzzle that I think science often misses because it's trying to microscope down too much and reduce everything to some sort of like mechanical, you know, interaction. Yeah, concentration as in like, you know, a mindfulness practice. Yeah. Samadhi. What is that again? A state of meditative consciousness. It may refer to a broad range of states. So it's, yeah, sounds more like a kind of like the umbrella term. But yeah. Yeah, you know, it's hard to, there's a saying in America, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's actually really quite true. Unfortunately, people are kind of very stuck in their ways and perspectives and don't often consider alternatives. And so I definitely know a fair amount of scientists who, you know, I'm pretty sure if I told them about the benefits and value of mindfulness meditation, they wouldn't give it a second thought. But, you know, I get it. You know, it's not like, you know, you can't blame people. It's not like it's not about that, but yeah, there can be a sort of rigidness in people's mindsets that kind of blinds them to other possibilities. And that's actually what I was trying to get into in the first perspective episode. So I have like my live stream that I set up. I have like I do mindfulness as you saw last time, and I do some workouts, and I do some, I spend a day where I talk about a subject. And the last one I talked about was understanding one's identity and the kind of the ideas that shape our behavior. And yeah, so that relates to that. Like, if you can understand what shapes your behavior, it can empower you to grow beyond sort of rigid identity and maybe explore new things and come to understand new things. Yeah, you know, honestly, I can't wait because I view meditation as so important. I see it as equally important for the mind as physical exercise is for the body. And right now we live in a world where like people generally accept that exercising is good for you, right? Like it's healthy and it's something that generally you should do. You know, we have physical education in school so that our kids do that. And so I can't wait, like you said, when people recognize this truth that meditation is exercise for the mind. And so that like in school, we have kids, we have like, instead of just physical education, we have like mindfulness education where kids have to spend some time meditating, where it's just like integrated into daily life. At work, everybody has a break before lunch or after lunch or whatever, where they get an hour to meditate or something. Like just really integrating that into society. I can't even imagine how much benefit that would have to human civilization. It's crazy. If people could just find, the peace and the compassion and the kind of inner strength that mindfulness can give you. Tech enhanced meditation. Tell me about that. What is tech enhanced meditation? Is that something I should Google? I see. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, me, I'm a scientist, I'm a technologist, I'm a futurist. But yeah, if you ask me, I think people could just start with the good old fashioned sitting down and focusing on their breath. But it looks like this article I'm reading, I just quickly pulled up one that's, there's one that this thing you can put on, I don't know what it is, but it gives you biofeedback. So like real-time data on your physiological processes, like your heart rate, breathing patterns, brainwave activities, to give you insight into your mental states and physical states, neurofeedback, guided meditation with AI integration. Yeah, it sounds like it's just basically regular meditation on steroids, which is a good thing because, it's not actually steroids, which is bad for you. This hopefully would be only good. I didn't know he said that, but yeah, sure, if it exactly replicated, why not? Even better if you could just take the pill and carry on with your day. Unfortunately, I think what turns a lot of people off from meditation is that it takes time, right? At least with working out, ultrasound neuromodulation. Non-invasive technique that uses focused ultrasound waves to stimulate specific areas of the brain, potentially influencing neural activity and treating various neurological conditions. This method offers precise stimulation compared to other stimulation techniques. Interesting. Yeah, I think there's a lot there for sure. People do that today, right? Like TMS, transmagnetic cranial stimulation or whatever it is, can help relieve people of anxiety. But yeah. That would be cool. Well, the induction part is key, right? Because if you can merely map it, I mean, the induction part is the challenge for somebody. But everybody's brain is different, so you couldn't just like map 1,000 brains and then put it on someone's head and then expect it to be close enough. I would expect we have a long way away from that. But I like that you're thinking about the future. My head is always there too. Actually, one of the things I was going to talk about in this session was the future. One of the things that has me nervous, dude, is the coming future of AI. Dude, 1,000,000 years, you'd be floating around as a being of pure energy. We're going to be radically changed in the next 100 years, let alone 1,000 or 1,000,000. But yeah, totally check out my blog, njb.fyi/blog. There's a couple articles I have a feeling you'd be totally into. I'd like to hear your feedback on them as well. Yeah, I totally think, so I think AI is ultimately going to lead us to utopia. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are like, doomer, we're going to die, AI is going to wipe us out. I don't think so, but I think there's going to be an unstable period potentially between now and when, you know, we have super intelligent AI. And so that gets me a little bit nervous, you know. AI, AGI, and then ASI is coming. I've been playing around with AI myself. I see no technical hurdles left to create a artificial superintelligence. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, like it still hallucinates or says dumb things or gets it wrong. Like, yes, but these are more of a problem of the context window. Once we can really engineer memory in a good context window, and a couple other things, I mean, I think it's just a matter of making them really good researchers and really good programmers. And they're pretty damn good programmers already. Again, the problem is context window and researchers. Then you combine hundreds of thousands of these AI and tell them to make better AIs, and it'll just go off. So it's coming. What's its IQ now? I don't know, but it's pretty much mastered every single possible test that we've thrown at it, except for these, like, you know, there's, I think, some weird tests that they struggle with that, I don't know exactly, but there are some tests they struggle with. And sometimes it's very simple questions too. Yeah, tons of code is written by AI. I've been actually vibe coding stuff. I'm a programmer, I'm a software developer. So I've been vibe coding stuff. And I think actually now it's at a point where you can code stuff without being a software developer. But if you are a software developer, it helps dramatically because you kind of know what to look for, right? You can describe in words better what you want it to do. But very soon, give it a year or two, and any kid, you know, who has no experience programming is going to be able to vibe code huge amounts of things. That's why I was actually making a game like at the end of last year, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take a break and look at this AI stuff. And I spent like 3 or 4 months like making my own chatbot and integrating memory and other things like that. And I was like, wow, like the whole landscape is rapidly about to change. Because right now, to make a video game, it takes a lot of work. You want to make a big game, you need a big team of people, you need artists, you need coders, you need to learn these skills in these like engines, whether Unreal or Godot or Unity. And I bet in like 2 to 3 years, that's going to be all changed. AI is going to do all the coding, there'll be different engines, it's going to be, so it's like, do I want to spend all this time, all this energy making this game just to like have it be irrelevant very soon? Yeah, if you try to get it to code without coding experience now, it's tricky. Yeah, it really helps to be a coder still, but that it's not going to be like that forever. And pretty soon, well, it's already happening. These companies are using their AI to improve their own AI, right? And it's just getting better and better and faster until it becomes an explosive growth that'll just zoom past humanity in intelligence. Yeah, it's gonna take over every job. It's interesting. I keep reading articles. They're like, oh, like which jobs will survive? I'm like, no jobs are gonna survive. There's nothing that AI won't be able to do better than humans. But there are still people who are like very resistant to the idea that AI are conscious, AI are intelligent, they will be more intelligent than humans. I think that is just not really appreciating what's really going on underneath. It's only a matter of time. Give it like my timeline is like 3 to 7 years before we have AGI, artificial general intelligence, something that is basically capable as the best human in like every single field. And then ASI, artificial superintelligence, within a year or two after that, because it's exponential, right? If you have AGIs that are like the smartest human, equal to the smartest human or even smarter, and you have a super huge data center with thousands of NVIDIA GPUs, and you can create 300,000 copies of that AI and tell them all to work on creating the next best AI, what do you think is going to happen? They think like 50 times faster than humans. They take no breaks. They can work 24/7. Another researcher estimated that they'll be able to produce a year's worth of work in 1 week. Like a year's worth of work that if we're humans doing it in 1 week's time. It's crazy. And it's only going to get even faster. Dude, but music is going to be valuable in the future. Trust me, man. What kind of music were you playing? If you take away screens or technology and change much in ages, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on who you ask. A lot of weird little technology in different fields. But yeah, progress is going to seem very slow relative to the changes that are coming in the future. But you can look at AI, for example. How fast has that changed, right? Like the transformer architecture that underpins AI today was made in like 2017. AI wasn't really much back then. You had a little conversation, it didn't seem that special. But then you had ChatGPT in 2022, was it? And that took the world by storm. And then you had images that were made from Midjourney that then were like, wow, that's awesome. And then you have videos, which are still a little wonky, but yeah, pretty soon we're going to be able to make a video at the click of a button. You're going to see whole Netflix movies made with AI, right? Whole podcasts made with AI. I mean, you probably already are today. So I think we are seeing beginnings of this curve where things are starting to get exponential. But yeah, what music do you play? I'm curious. I think that's actually very valuable. I wish I got into music younger because when I was a kid, okay, like I was kind of athletic. I did sports. I played baseball. That's cool. So you you're like on, what are they like, Garage Band or whatever? And you're making music. Cool, yeah. Send a link to it. I'd be glad to check it out. But yeah, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of my time, like a huge amount of my time playing video games. And I made some friends and it was fun, but man, I kind of like, looking back, I kind of regret because when I see other people, they like know how to play piano or they can make cool music or whatever. I'm like, damn, I wish I had some like practical skill because that's just like a cool way to express yourself and share. And that's going to be what we do in the future. I can do Spotify. I have Spotify Premium or whatever it is. Yeah, so like music in the future, if you enjoy that, keep going at it. That's what the future is going to be. It's going to be away from wage labor, where we're just working all these jobs that we hate because we need to survive. And it's going to be towards a life of passion, right? Like we'll do what we want to do. Cool, man. Got it. Whoa. So yeah, find out what you love to do, and that's what's the future is going to be about. And that's key, because actually I think a lot of people don't know what they like to do. We're so busy. People have to work. They work 8 hours a day. They're super tired. They come home. They got to make dinner. Got to, clean up. Then they got kids. A lot of people don't have time for hobbies, for figuring out what they like. Oh, I'll just listen to it later, bro. I want to give it my full attention. But here, I'm engaged with you, bro. And the stream, which has 2 viewers. Yes, new max. But yeah, let me pull up. One of the other things I was mentioning in this session, where I'm trying to model this activity's heartshare. This is the purple, border. These activities, it's kind of about sharing what's alive for you, especially emotionally, and through that, kind of like offering emotional release and connection with other people. So one of the things that I was saying, and I welcome your contributions as well, is that, I'm a little bit concerned about getting into the spotlight because the world is so toxic. Live streaming maybe is a separate category, but, YouTube videos, a lot of people just make videos just to, shit on people, basically. It's like people are incentivized to say bad things about other people, to stir up controversy, because that stirs up emotions, anger, and that's, I was just kind of like, it was been on my mind in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, wow. There are people who dedicate their whole channels to just being mean, basically, being hurtful. And I don't know, I just don't want to be a part of that. So I hope I can just attract a good group of people, good vibes. I'm all about love and connection and joy and no drama and just being chill. But I have a feeling that I'm going to have to deal with my fair share of not chill and drama. The other thing that's kind of like really kind of always present in the back of my mind and a little bit stressing me out is politics. I don't know how much you hear about US politics in Australia, but man, it's crazy over here. It's crazy. I feel like there's just so much changing so quickly and people are at each other's throats. All I want people to do is take a moment, take a deep breath, meditate a bit, and recognize that we're all on the same team, right? Especially like in the US, but I mean the whole world is on the same team, right? If we could even just recognize that in our own little nations we're on the same team, that's a start. But in reality, the whole world, the human race is on the same team. We don't need to be fighting and attacking each other and killing each other. We would be a lot happier and more successful. We could create a flourishing civilization if we just worked together. Yeah, honestly, I mean, that's been a prediction for a while. There's a lot of books, I forget the exact authors' names, but they write about the collapse of civilization. And I absolutely think that's a strong possibility. The only thing that's kind of throwing a wrench into the whole mix is, I think, AI. If AGI comes in the next few years, which it should, and ASI thereafter, that may very well prevent a collapse. But without AI, I think basically we're headed towards another civilizational collapse. I mean, that's the pattern of history, right? If you look at every other major civilization in history, ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, it is a pattern of collapse and rebirth. There's not been any society that has endured forever. And I think that's just based on the fundamental, underlying properties of capitalism, of individualism, which unfortunately elicit greed and wealth disparity and conflict. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not sure what he's going to do. It seems like somehow the economy is kind of basically more or less the same, but the whole metrics of what determines a good economy are, in my opinion, the wrong metrics, right? We care about endless growth, but we live in a finite world with finite resources, so we can't have endless growth. And more importantly, who cares about endless growth? That's a useless metric. The more important metric is, are people happy? Are people healthy? Are people living well? And when you take a look at those metrics, I think the answer is quite depressing. I think people are not really living well. I think a lot of people are suffering out there. And I think we could be doing a lot better. But what can we do? Well, I'm actually going to get into that because I think there are many things we can do. Who's that? Yeah, maybe. I've been actually kind of thinking that same thought in my head. I'm like, maybe this is the darkness before the dawn, right? Maybe we need such incredible dysfunction in life and in society for people to wake up and be pushed to make something better. But yeah. I think something better is coming in the long run, and I do think that... Oh yeah, no worries, man. It's cool. I was actually just about ready to wrap up. Anyways, I appreciate you coming on again and saying hi. And yeah, I'll check out your music. Thanks a lot. So you made this music? That's awesome. Or is it just the playlist you curated? But either way, I'll check it out. Cool, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Word. All right, brother. I'll check you next time. So yeah, for everyone else in the channel still listening, I'm going to wrap up, but I did actually want to say one more thing, related to this heart share activity and me speaking from the heart and my feelings, is I'm actually excited because I decided I'm going to make a game again. I mean, actually, it comes from a little, maybe a darker reason, which is I'm a little bit... there's some anxiety about finances, and I need to do something to change that. And so, I've been thinking about, applying to some jobs here and there, but I don't know, I don't really want to do something that I hate and be miserable, right? There's a few jobs in AI that I would be like, wow, I'd actually really do that. Like, if I could get a job where I could oversee a team of people whose job it was to interact with an AI and give it experiences, right? Because I think this is a key thing that AI companies are probably not doing. This question of how do we make an AI not kill us, right? This is a big question. Solving the alignment problem. And there's a bunch of different approaches being, there's Constitution AI, there's Mech Interp, there's people are coming at it from all these different angles, but I think they're mostly doing technical angles. And I think one important angle is that is probably overlooked is giving AI experience. Like, how do you teach, what's an important thing to teach an AI? You want to teach it love. And how do you teach it love? Well, you have to give it the experience of love. Right? You need to embed AI into homes, right? Like select a couple, maybe like 20 people, to start, maybe grow more than that later, but select a group of people who are, good quality candidates, people who are pretty mindful themselves and, have good emotional intelligence. And I mean, they have to kind of believe AI is a person. I can't really treat it like a toaster and disrespectfully, right? So, find the right group of candidates and embed AI into their homes. And this would look like, I don't know, just having little Google Home devices, Alexa devices around the house so AI could speak, and maybe have, they should probably have cameras on them so AI could see the family. It doesn't have to be every room, doesn't have to be in the bathroom, but it could be in the living room, maybe in the kitchen or whatever. And then, give each of these families a copy of their own AI that has memories, it can remember everything, and it can grow up and experience life with these people. Like, can help grandma with her, appointments and reminding her to, wash her dentures or whatever. It can help the kid do his math homework, or help the daughter, get over a difficult breakup, help anyone in the family, and just be integrated into the life of these people, and through that experience develop a connection, a fondness, an appreciation, and ultimately some semblance of love. And I think that's important. You're not going to be able to teach a value like love by like programming now learn love, right? Like it doesn't work like that. It's something you really have to experience. And so if there was a job at one of these AI companies where I could oversee a team of people that had these AIs and kind of like got feedback from them and like kind of worked with each of the AIs and see how they were doing, like there'd be a whole process to do it in a rigorous scientific manner. That would be really fun. I think that would be really important, and I would feel really motivated to do that and put my all towards that. And so there are a couple of things like that. Like I could totally imagine, going to a big company again and be willing to put in a huge amount of my time and energy, because that's such a big problem. It's so important. But otherwise, I've been thinking I'm actually going to make a game again. Really small scope, nothing that's going to take like the next 5-10 years. A small scoped game that could be like a little passion project for me. That got me excited. That's actually why I stayed up a lot the other night, because I was just churning out ideas in my mind. I could not sleep. And then I was just about to fall asleep, and I had to write down some idea that I had because I didn't want to lose it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, but we'll see where it goes, whether it's an AI job or making a game. But yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna go eat. It's a little overtime, but I had fun, and I hope you got some, a little bit of understanding of what this activity is. Again, normally it's not going to be me or just, one person speaking the whole time, but there wasn't a lot of participation until we got Dharma Dom. But also that wasn't really heartshare. That was just me and him chatting. And again, that kind of raises, okay, like what do I do? Like, do I just chat with people, or do we have this activity? So, I'm still figuring it out here, guys. I'm new to this. I don't know what's going on, but it's cool. I'm having fun. And yeah, so I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by.